coming down the pike here. So I just want to express a thank you and a good morning to committee members, advisors, staff, any online visitors we might be having to today's February 16th quarterly meeting of the North Carolina Driver Education Advisory Committee. This committee advises and recommends to the State Board of Education how we implement the North Carolina Driver Education Strategic Plan and any other issues related to driver education, traffic safety. I'm Devin Tanner. I'm the chairman of the North Carolina Driver Education Advisory Committee, and I am now calling this meeting to order. If at any time during the meeting you have comments, please speak clearly into your microphone and your computer. It is being recorded, this meeting, and so we want to be able to make sure that you're heard clearly. If you're in the audience and you have questions, please wait to be recognized before speaking. Our agenda and materials are available online through the DPI website. That's www.dpi.nc.gov. And then there's a driver education section page that you can click on there. The meeting is also being audio streamed through a link located at the bottom of the Driver Education Advisory Committee page. I'm now going to read an ethics statement that's required of me. Committee members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of this committee. Does any member of the committee know of any conflict of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, just please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please go ahead and bring the matter to the attention of myself, the chairman. And then it will be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. Okay. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and I know that at the top of the agenda, it's approval of the minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and each of you should have received the minutes. If you have not received the minutes and would like that, Cindy, without disrupting the meeting, what would be the best way to request those?
You could just ask if the committee members have not received the minutes, approving those.
Carl, could you state that one more time? Carl, you were coming in and out. Can you just state that one more time?
Yes. If any of the committee members have not received, or she sent them out actually about 2 months ago, if you don't have a fresh copy of those, you can request those before voting on them. Otherwise, we can go ahead and move ahead with the roll call and the acceptance of the agenda and the approval of the minutes. Okay.
So those of you committee members who have had the opportunity to review the proposed, the minutes from our previous committee meeting, which was on 11/17/20. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Okay, and could you state your name, please?
Doug Eller.
Doug Eller.
I knew it was you, Doug, but wanted to go ahead and make it for the record. Do I have a second?
Second, Mike Newsom.
Okay, thank you, Mike. And do we have any, rather than everybody being unmuted and saying aye, do we have anybody that has any issue to the contrary with the minutes? Okay, so moved, approved, minutes are approved. Let's go ahead and at this time, committee members, you'll have, you've also gotten a copy of the proposed agenda for today's meeting. We're going to go ahead and do a roll call, and what I'll do is I'll have Cindy Taylor go ahead and do the roll call. But when stating present for the roll call, if you have a motion to approve the agenda, you may go ahead when you state that you're here. You can also go ahead and put forth your motion to approve the agenda for this meeting. Cindy, if you'd like to go ahead and start the roll call.
Hey, Mr. Tanner, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Devin Tanner,
Present.
Kathy Short,
Present, and I move to approve the agenda.
Dr. Brandon Simmons, Jeff Moore,
Present, and I second the motion to approve.
thank you. Carol Ann Hudgens,
Present.
Sarah Martin,
Present, and I approve.
That was Martin Rickman.
okay, thank you.
We do have two motions to approve, so we have what we need there with regard to approving the agenda. So we can go ahead and just move through the roll call now.
Thank you.
Yeah, just aye on both.
We will.
Mark Azell,
He's
Stephen
probably gonna be
Lau,
around.
Paul DeLuey, Michael Newsom, Dr. Shanae Flood,
Present.
Captain Troy Pope, Mark Shepard, Craig Uzel, Marvin Smith,
Present.
Natalie O'Brien,
Present.
Doug Eller,
Present.
and
Doug
Wyatt.
is present.
Thank you, and Wyatt Smith.
Present.
Okay, and with regard to approving the agenda, we had a motion to approve by first by Kathy Short, and then by Jeff Moore with the second. Are there any that have an objection to the agenda? Okay, so moved. We'll go ahead and move forward with that agenda. Do we have a quorum?
We do. There's 10.
Thank you so much. Okay, perfect. Okay. At this time, I want to go ahead and move forward with the agenda, and the next item on our list is the DPI update. So I'll go ahead and turn the meeting over to Carl Logan for that update.
Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, Ms. Short, committee members and guests, on behalf of the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, the School Nutrition and Operations Division, and the Driver Education Section, I bid you good morning and thank you for the opportunity to share these updates of the state's traffic safety education program. If you told me a year ago that we were about to experience something our generation has never thought about, I wouldn't have believed it. This has been an unthinkable. And now that we have been living through these times for over a year, and that being said, we hope that you and your families are safe from this terrible pandemic. Although some of our families haven't been have been impacted by the terrible virus, including mine, some have not been so blessed and have lost loved ones. Our hearts go out to those, and DPI has been collaborating and with the appropriate agencies to provide leadership and produce the Lighting Our Way Forward document. It's the North Carolina's guidebook for reopening of public schools, as well as the Strong Schools and North Carolina Health Toolkit for K-12 schools, which has recently been updated on February the 12th. To date, almost all of our districts have restarted their programs to varying degrees. As far as classrooms are concerned, the driver education team provided information to the previously mentioned guidebooks and to allow them to restart the classrooms. You'll also remember that pursuant to Session Law 2019-30, our section through the agency has created special guidance specifically for vehicle instruction for the social distancing is not possible in a vehicle. And to date, we have received very few reports of needing to suspend this part of the instruction. We are also pleased to announce the new agency leadership since our last meeting. The Superintendent of Public Instruction, Catherine Truitt. Although I haven't had the pleasure of meeting her personally yet, I have heard her present and share during the State Board of Education meetings. And in the February meeting of the State Board of Education, she made several notations. Her North Star, all students deserve a highly qualified and excellent teacher in every classroom. And she reiterated a statement made by a division director that teachers should grow and progress academically. This should also be expected of our students as well. So I highlight these as I'd like to circle back to them shortly. Also new with us is Dr. Robert Taylor, our Deputy Superintendent, formerly of Bladen County Schools and by way of Cumberland County, where he spent 20 years, I believe. The School Nutrition and District Operations Division is housed in his area. In a recent meeting with Dr. Taylor, we had the opportunity to introduce ourselves and share recent accomplishments and challenges. We found him very receptive to the section chief's information and recognized us as experts in our areas, which would be very beneficial to local superintendents. And of course, our division is still being led by Dr. Lynn Harvey. As stated, we are excited and look forward to working with the superintendent's leadership team to lead us out of these challenging times and continue forward as we will all focus on educating all children and the whole child. So pending his schedule, it is possible that he may drop in, and if he does, we'll ask the chair for consideration to allow him to share. General Statute 115C-215, and I'll paraphrase this, it begins by saying, in accordance with the criteria and standards approved by the State Board of Education, the superintendent and administrator offered at the public schools. As we continue our reformation of the state's driver education program, as characterized by the 2011 legislation, including in our focus will be to align with the State Board of Education strategic plan. That strategic plan has several components I'd like to highlight for just a moment. Goal 1, eliminate education opportunity gaps by 2025, and Objective 2, improve the school climate measures across all schools and grade levels. Obviously, we're focused on 9-12. A component of that is to increase opportunities to develop healthy habits in students, which has always been a focus for us. Objective 6, increase the number of educators of color in schools across North Carolina. Indicated by studies recently presented at the State Board of Education, students learn better when their educators and administrators look like them. Goal 2, improve school and district performance by 2025. Objective 1, allocation of financial and business and technological resources according to the state, federal, and State Board of Education policies. Our current policies, allotment policies, need some attention as they produce somewhat of an unlevel playing field for the smaller districts. So we'll be taking a look at those things. Goal 3, increase educator preparedness to meet the needs of every student by 2025. In objective 1, increase the number of culturally relevant and equity-focused resources for teachers. Professional development for teachers regarding diversity and sensitivity issues which will impact educational settings will be a focus of any upcoming policy changes. Objective 2, increase the number of mentors available to beginning teachers. Our regional support project will serve as the next step to achieving this goal. And I use the word step actually in 2 ways. Our safety, traffic, and education program, which has been in existence now for a little over a year and a half, has produced a number of teachers. In that training program, we do produce mentors for the districts. Objective 4, increase the opportunities for educator engagement outside and inside the schools by encouraging teachers to be visible for appropriate civic activities. For our team, Mrs. Angela Stevenson has served as our team's lead in Leandro versus the state of North Carolina. This short upcoming presentation will serve as a basis for this committee to gain important information that will help you understand why and how this impacts driver education in our part of the big picture. Ms. Stevenson.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Angie Stevenson, and I'm a retired career English teacher from Wake County. And I have worked in driver education for 13 years and continue to work in Wake County with driver's ed. I have a graduate school degree in curriculum and instruction, national board certified teacher, and I am a proud native North Carolinian. And I'm going to give you an overview of the Leandro case, and that was initiated in 1994. And then the West Ed report that has really generated new focus on this case and providing equity to all of the students in our state. So I'm going to provide a brief overview of the Leandro litigation that was initiated against the state of North Carolina in 1994, 27 years ago, by 5 rural school districts: Cumberland, Halifax, Hoke, Robeson, and Vance counties. And they were also joined by individual plaintiffs from Hoke County Schools, where the suit gets its name, Kathleen Leandro and her son Robert. The lawsuit sought both a declaration that the state had failed to meet its constitutional duties to provide equal educational opportunities for all students and a court-imposed remedy to correct the violation. 1994. A few years later, the state Supreme Court held that every North Carolina child has a right to a sound basic education under our state's constitution. In 2004, 10 years after the lawsuit was filed, the court ruled the state failed to live up to the previous ruling. The case was remanded to Superior Court, where Judge Howard Manning oversaw compliance with the Leandro rulings. He retired in 2016, and then we moved it to Judge David Lee. More recently, 2017, the Governor's Commission on Access to a Sound Basic Education, which is a 19-member group, they were tasked with coming up with recommendations on how to meet the standards that were outlined in the Leandro case. And in 2019, West Ed, an independent consultant picked to make recommendations on how to comply with the Leandro standards, gave its report to Judge Lee on June 17th. And later it was released to the public. Okay. This is just a brief overview of the Leandro case in the event that any of you would like to share this in your area. It's a 1-minute video that highlights it a little bit more succinctly. So as a result, a renewed public discussion and sense of urgency around Leandro has become evident with the release of the West Ed report.
Okay. Are you in the WebEx?
With the release of the West Ed report in late 2019. And then in August of 2020, Beverly Emery was placed or named in the executive role at the Department of Public Instruction to work on fulfilling the priorities of this Leandro case. And I have taught in Wake County since 1991. And, I did my whole career while we're trying to fulfill this. This next slide is really just a graphic that accompanies the West Ed report and is commonly generated to demonstrate the 8 critical needs that West Ed report outlined. And in thinking about our program, driver education, it clearly falls into critical skill or critical needs, 5. So in considering the State Board of Education strategic plan, we clearly have a duty to fulfill providing equity of services as each student in our state works to become college and career ready. Mobility is crucial to gaining independence as students avail themselves of financial, business, and technological resources. Young people are the most valuable resources to a community's growth and that community's developing prosperity. And the areas that originally brought this suit were, it all stemmed from the fact of financial need and equity of access. So critical need 5, which you can see in the top right of your screen, states that we direct resources, opportunities, and initiatives to economically disadvantaged students. And as such, a strong focus should be placed on addressing the needs of economically disadvantaged students to address the greater challenges in those contexts. And there is a link included here if you would want to take a look at, I think it's about 300 pages, the full West Ed report and the information that was gleaned from that study. And then finally, if you would like to learn more about Leandro, the populations we serve across the state. As I said, I have worked in Wake County for most of my career, but I attended high school in Bladen County. So I was born in Wilson, North Carolina. So I have a lot of familiarity with all the variety across our state as a traveling English consultant. So we do have a lot of variety in our state. So if you'd like to learn more, there is a webinar that was recently held, January 7th, that was presented by Dr. Yvonne Brannon of Public Education First, North Carolina, and it featured Lynn Edmonds, who was the outreach director for PSNC. There's also a link to a 2-page fact sheet that tells us more about the case and also where we are with it. And I'm very passionate about the idea of equity in our state for all the services we provide. In closing, providing quality instructors, programs, and equity of access to students as they navigate driver education and the graduated driver licensing program is critical to the development of essential life skills and the education of the whole child. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. As we move forward here, Natalie O'Brien with the UNC Highway Research Center and Arthur Goodwin have presented us with this slide. And Natalie, you may want to expand on this further, but I think this slide is the results of a study that you all had done, and that it indicates the new drivers by age and race in North Carolina. And if you'll notice that at age 16, more than 80% of the students who receive their license are white, and that the remaining percentage is by African American or Hispanics or others. And if you'll notice that flips after age 20, at age 20, where the majority of Black, Hispanic, and other students receive theirs later, even after graduation, and more toward their 20th birthday, which one can draw from this chart that licensing is impacted by economics. Natalie, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I think you have covered that well. We have found the same thing if you look at racial implication for licensing and economic variables. We see the same patterns.
Okay. Thank you, Natalie. And further, we also collect teacher data from in our quarterly reports. Following leadership of the agency, we collected teacher demographics, which will also assist in our section in providing leadership to the districts and aligning their efforts with the State Board of Education strategic plan. And at this date, we have collected this demographic data for 95% of the driver education teachers in the state. And this graph indicates that the current ethnicity breakdown currently of 1,251 teachers of the total 1,310 driver education teachers in our district. You'll notice that 63% of our teachers are white, 27% of our teachers are Black or African American. What is not shown here is the fact that 5 districts have over 50% of the total number of African American or Black teachers, which is Wake County, Mecklenburg County, Cumberland County, Guilford, and Forsyth. There are 18 Native American teachers, all in one district. There are 3 Hispanic teachers, and 59 teachers have not responded. So I will pause for just a moment, but I also want to thank Mrs. Stevenson again for her diligence and leadership to our section for regarding these important initiatives. So I'll pause for any questions if we have them. If not, moving forward, Mrs. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. As Mr. Logan mentioned, our section collects data from all 115 districts throughout the year. The data includes the number of classroom and behind-the-wheel students taught on a quarterly basis. In comparison to the previous school year, during the first quarter, the number of classroom students taught was down by 63% and behind the wheel was down by 53%. We received the second quarter data and the numbers have significantly increased. According to the second quarter data, the number of classroom students is only down by 35% now, and the number of behind the wheel students is down by 38%. To conclude, the districts are working diligently and the latest data is encouraging as we see the numbers in an upward trend. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. At this point, that will conclude our DPI update. And if anyone has any questions, comments, there are 3 items. There are 3 pieces of legislation that are currently in progress. And pardon me, I'm trying to check our attendance here. Cindy, did Dr. Taylor or Mr. McKinney, are they in? Can you see if they're in?
Dr. Taylor has not arrived yet, and I do not see Mr. McKinney either.
What we would like to do is to move forward with this, and this was going to be our subcommittee update. But anyway, there's just a couple of items that I want to mention in these bills, and then I want to just kind of give it back to you, Mr. Chair, and you all can discuss these at length. There is a bill, the southbound. You can tell I'm an driver educator. Senate Bill 20, Hands-Free Act. In this particular bill, there is a provision that the Commission of Motor Vehicles and the Department of Public Instruction shall incorporate in driver education programs that a driver licensing programs and instruction shall encompass information regarding the use of technology equipment in the operation of a motor vehicle. I'm just going to leave that there and just come back to that in just a few minutes, because I'm sure that there's going to be quite a bit of conversation. There's also a bill, Senate Bill 37. In this particular bill for in-school instruction, at the very end of that bill, it mentions school-based employees. Half of our districts contract with contractors. We would hope that this school-based employees does include our contractors, being that they're on the front lines of education. And then also Senate Bill 69 is a division motor vehicles bill that allows vendor road tests. So, Mr. Chair, I will turn it back over to you. And was kind of a little bit of an awkward transition. I was thinking that we may have a little bit more discussion, or appropriate members of our agency would be in here by now, but we will continue to move on and let you handle the succession of that.
Okay, well, real quickly, let me just address, I know on the agenda it talks about subcommittee updates, and unless, Mr. Logan, there's something that you want, the vast majority of our, and I know that this is, it says Vice Chair, so I know Kathy Short is the one to present this, but I wanted to let everyone know with regard to subcommittee updates, most of the LEAs and driver ed program has been just so uber focused on restarts, training, virtual classrooms, and trying to get staff back for behind the wheel, that has been the main priority for the driver ed program around the state. So with regard to subcommittee updates, there really hasn't been much information being shared amongst the subcommittee, if at all, seeing as that we've been focused on really trying to get the driver ed program back to where, Cindy showed us those trending numbers up, and that's encouraging. But I also know here in Wake County, for example, and in Mecklenburg, two of the bigger counties, we are not even we're not yet even close to playing with our full deck of staff yet. They've chosen to continue to wait out because of COVID-19 issues, being in the vehicles with the students. So under normal circumstances here in Wake County, we may have about 85 drivers. Right now we're running with around 44. So about half of what we normally do. And therefore it's creating backlogs of students to drive. And I know that there are those of you that are working in private schools or heads of LEAs that are shaking your heads yes. But again, it is what it is. There's really no good solution to the problem right now, but it has been our major focus as a driver ed program statewide. And so with regard to subcommittee updates, there really is no report on subcommittees. Mr. Logan, do you want to chime in on anything subcommittee wise?
There is a brief update on the teacher ed program, our teacher certification program. We are very excited that we are closing in on completing 150 new teachers since the inception of the STEP program. Angie and Reggie Flight have been working diligently with the new teachers in this current remote setting. Angie, Reggie, you can unmute yourselves and give any kind of updates you would like.
Good morning. This is Angie again. The cohorts are going very well, and we've met a lot of people across the state who are very invested in driver education and anxious to get started. We have just finished our North Carolina DMV content on Sunday, and we have the week off to get ready for the Driver Ed 1 course, which will open for Monday. So this is going to be my second go through of this entire program, and I'm really pleased to see how it's evolving and the kinds of responses that we're getting.
Okay, and I know here in Wake County, we have just we've been the and Reggie, if you're on here, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're the beneficiaries of 6 of those new drive instructors. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did have 6. We had 6 candidates in the course.
Okay, understood.
And the mentor course runs parallel, and they are getting ready to start. We're getting ready to start with another small group of them on Monday also.
Okay, perfect. So I guess at this time, what I want to do is have a discussion, and I know there may be some questions amongst the 76 of you that are with us. I'm grateful that we have so many participants today with regard to some of the legislation that's out there right now. None of this has been voted on, but I also know that there are questions. Now, I know Carl has the slide up for Senate Bill 20, the Hands-Free Act, and I think this is something that we've been working on for a couple of years now. It has sat kind of on the, I think it started in the House, I believe a few years ago, and it's kind of just been tabled up until now again, and it's just recently resurfaced. I want to remind everybody that till the time that a child is 18, that the children we work with, 14 and a half to 18, are already under this edict. They are not allowed to use a wireless device while they're behind the wheel of a vehicle, except in emergency situations. So my understanding of this bill is that it is going to affect more so the 18 and above. However, it does specifically mention driver education in the bill. Now, that's really good for us. Number one, it means that the state legislature is still thinking of us, and they think of us as Carl mentioned, the professionals to disseminate this type of information to students. I don't think there's a driver education class that goes on in this state without talking about the dangers of distracted driving, including the dangers of having using a cell phone while driving. However, as we also know, our students, they get us 30 hours and then 6 hours of driving, and they've been learning from their parents since they've been in a car seat watching their parents drive. And we all know their parents don't necessarily all have the best routines and behavior while driving with regard to distraction and cell phone either. So I think that's why that has been put in. Driver education has been specifically named in this. We do have certain points. I believe, Carl, there are 5 right now that we shall teach within our course. I don't know if this is something that eventually we want to look at to have board policy change and have this added to that bullet point, but it does say that we shall talk about the importance of this law with our students. Are there any questions or comments with regard to this potential bill?
I've shared those on the screen. Yes, we're required to teach the rights and privileges of the handicapped, at least 6 hours of the offenses of on the offense of driving while impaired and related subjects.
Okay.
That can be somewhat interpreted to distracted driving, and at least 6 hours of driving, 1 hour motorcycle awareness, and instruction on, I'll paraphrase this, on safe police stops in North Carolina. So the current legislation, unless they adjust it, we would just assume that it would go in that particular area there.
Okay. And can you put on the screen Senate Bill 20 where it talks about where it names driver education?
Yes. All right.
Okay. I'm actually reading through this right now. So one of the changes this makes, and Natalie Natalie or Carl, if you want to chime in, one of the changes that I'm seeing here is that it number 4 subsection C, it says persons under 18 years of age, which is the population we serve. No person under 18 shall operate a motor vehicle while using a wireless communication except, and I think this is new language for us, to follow the route recommended by an electronic navigation system. So there's, if they're using a map, so long as all address information is entered before operating the vehicle, and as provided in subdivision 1 of subsection D of this section. So I think that's something a little bit new. It used to be that before, my understanding was that at under 18, the student wasn't even really allowed to have their phone on. But this language does allow for that.
Yeah,
Any
this is,
comments?
I say
Go
this is
ahead.
Natalie. I would have to look back at the exact language of the legislation that impacts young drivers, but from what I can recall, it was unclear. So
Okay.
if that was allowed or not, it was, I think, more of touching it, but I know we've had some questions about that. So maybe this legislation will clarify that.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
And then as highlighted there, as you can see on the screen, the Commissioner of Motor Vehicles and Department of Public Instruction shall incorporate in driver education programs and driver licensing programs instructions designed to encourage compliance with this section. So as an important means of reducing motor vehicle accidents and on the requirements and penalties specified in this law. So it does look like, because of the word shall there, Carl, that we may need to look at a possible adjustment to that state board policy where we need to add another bullet point, a sixth requirement within our driver education courses.
We will do that appropriately. One more point I'd like to make about this particular area is that you all are aware that we've been creating a digitized standard curriculum that can be pushed out to all the districts. These types of actions by the legislature, anything that becomes a new requirement, this can be added into the curriculum at no cost to the districts, and they would have the most up-to-date information and quickly, and all we need to do is create some professional development around this to ensure that the teachers are getting the most up-to-date and accurate information to disseminate to their students. So we're excited about the opportunity to use our to put the actions of our new curriculum to test. We just our efforts will continue to trying to get funding for this so that the districts don't have to purchase the access to this new curriculum.
Carl, this is Mark. I'm sorry I just joined a bit late while this was being explained, but do folks on the call, do they have any particular concerns with the language of this bill, because I don't think it's been set for committee yet. And now obviously would be the time to provide that input.
Thank you, Mark. I would ask the chair to, I mean, you can formally ask the committee members if they had any questions or concerns about the language of the bill. And you should have gotten this. You should have gotten this and this particular copy a few last week, I believe it was.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, you know, I really wanted to focus on subsection I here, line 9, and that language. I personally do not see a problem with any language, as Mark, in my experience and having talked with other people around the state and certainly in my own county, these are things that are already talked about ad nauseum with regard to cell phone distraction. However, now that this is being put into law for everybody, I certainly do not have a problem being more. I'll be honest. I certainly do not have a problem with driver education being more embedded in either legislation or state board policy.
Good. Okay, great. And then,
oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, and then my apologies for coming in late. I had another meeting. But have you had a chance to discuss Senate Bill 69 yet, or is that?
Actually, thank you, Mark, for mentioning that. Devin, if I asked for the forgiveness here for butting in. I believe on the call right now is a member of the agency's new government and community affairs with Jamie Falconberry. Mr. Falconberry, if we could move forward over into that bill, Devin, then
move.
Open it up to allow Mr. Falconberry to share the Department of Public Instruction's and the State Board of Education's position or comments regarding this particular in-person learning choice for families bill.
Hey, it's Jamie. I got the tail end of that. Do you want me to talk about the bill that is in conference committee right now, or the one that Speaker Moore just unveiled?
We're not aware of the one that Speaker Moore just unveiled.
Okay. Okay. So
Bill 37.
Yeah, so SB 37, that one is in conference committee right now, should be brought back to the House and the Senate tomorrow, according to Speaker Moore just had a press conference discussing his bill about summer learning. I'll talk about that real quick. But this one, it basically makes it so that students have to be, or sorry, school districts have to be open to Plan B, and then that students with EC or IEPs have to be in Plan A, or have to be given the option for Plan A. It's up to the parents to decide. But those are the kids that are at most risk and at most need of the social and learning aspects of our education system. The reason why it didn't pass it didn't pass the other week is there were some amendments from the House that had to deal with, I believe, doctor's notes and whether a teacher would be forced to go back or not. And so they're trying to hammer out those details, whether you need a doctor's note or a teacher just says that I don't feel comfortable going back to the classroom. That they're figuring out those details right now in conference committee with some specific language. And then I think they're trying to make this a very bipartisan bill as well. So it's not just a Republican bill, or I think there's a Democrat bill out there as well, but they're trying to make this as bipartisan as possible and bring everybody's opinions in on it. I think I hit all the high level on that. I can let you know that Speaker Moore just had a press conference about his bill about having in-person summer school for 6 weeks over the summer. The plan is would apply to all social distancing guidelines, whatever they are, come this summer. But that is for summer school, and it's really to help the learning loss that many of our students have faced this year. But that does not have to do with Senate Bill 37. That is to get our schools open for the remainder of this calendar school year.
Jamie, this is Mark Ezel over at Governor's Highway Safety. Have you had a chance to look at Senate Bill 69, which basically makes substantial gutting to the graduated driver's licensing law?
Yeah, I reviewed that. Wait, hold on. Let me pull it up real quick. Sorry.
I'll put it on the screen for you if I can get it here real quick.
Is that the one? There's so many bills. There's so many bills flying right now. Is that the one that you sent over to me already?
Yeah,
here it is.
Yeah,
yep, I have it right here. Yeah, what are the concerns?
Some things for the group to be aware of. The original request was for legislation that would no longer require in-person driving tests, which, is reasonable. And from a safety standpoint, a lot of our colleagues at Highway Safety Research Center suggest would not be a problem. And what came back in the bill drifting process, as sometimes happens, is a bill that does a lot of other things in addition to that, including but not limited to, you can see there in C3, decreases the amount of time that a person with level 1 restrictions, that limited learner's permit, has to have time restrictions. And then the most disconcerting part is really in D with level 2, and that is it decreases the time that a person has to have the learner's permit from 12 months to 6 months.
Yeah, I do know that the General Assembly is looking at ways to not penalize children, or I should say young adults who have been caught in this COVID situation where they weren't able to get it, and now it's going to delay when they get their full license by 6 months or so. So I think that's what they're trying to do here. However, as we all know, with all legislation, this is just the first draft, and there will be some amendments and there will be some kinks, and they will talk to stakeholders, they'll talk to us. So what I would just request of you all is just work with us on to make these type of bills better, but also there are things that they don't always recognize or realize when they're drafting the bill initially. But I do know that there are a lot of people out there that are stuck in this situation where, of no fault of their own, that they weren't able to get their permit and get on track to getting their full license. And so yeah, we'll continue to monitor this as it makes its way. But I was just looking at it. It's just been read into committee, right? It hasn't been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we have some time to address it and monitor as it makes its way through.
The issue that I know Highway Safety Research Center has expressed, and Natalie, you can probably speak to this better, is that North Carolina presently has the strongest and the best graduated driver's licensing requirements in the country, and they have really brought about substantially less teen driving deaths. And by decreasing this amount, there is serious concern that we just simply go back to where we were before graduated driver's licensing, and would see an increase in young driver crashes.
Yeah, this is, Natalie, I would say we do have substantial concerns about making that change based on the research that's been previously done, but then also my team and I just finished a project wrapping up right now that's specifically related to the implications of COVID on young drivers. So we have some data forthcoming about that. We looked at how much practice has changed among learners permit holders. And so how that would impact them once they're licensed, because that's the biggest indicator of crashes is how much practice you actually have. And then also we looked at parental support of actually this type of legislation among parents of permit holders in North Carolina during this time period, and the support among parents is also not there to make this change.
Jamie,
Yeah, read Mark Shepard's comment, and that's a very good comment. I mean, and that might, where we look at the people that have been impacted during this COVID timeframe, and then maybe making the standards go back to what they are, so that it's not permanent. But I agree.
Yeah, and then I think you'll also have some concerns. Some medical groups have really, because this is kind of a perennial thing, comes up to decrease some of these requirements in graduated driver's licensing. Medical groups have opposed it, and insurance folks have opposed it as well, in addition to safety folks.
Yeah, well, a major concern that is going on right now is that parents and teens with the permits already struggle to get enough practice. And what we're seeing right now with the data that we've collected is that they're driving even less, because usually teens drive when they're permit, and other times when there's places to go, when they're making routine trips to school or to sport, to sporting practice and other type of activities. And right now they just don't have those places to go. So the data that we just collected was from parents in this cohort, and they were saying on average before COVID, before the shutdown, their teens practiced on average of like 3.5 days a week, and now they're down to about 1. So among teens who have a permit, they're getting a lot less practice than teens who used to before COVID. So they're going to be even less well prepared. So if we shorten that permit period, we think that the crash rates will be even higher than previously before.
Can you send over that data? Email me that. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Jamie, this is Devin Tanner. I'm the chairman of this committee. So with regard to SB 69, these kids, with this being a driver education advisory committee, we obviously, Natalie from UNC Research and her team, our members, we have a lot of different stakeholders. These kids are away from the driver education program, where with regards to they get their 30 hours and then their of classroom, and then there's 6 hours of driving, and then at this point where this bill comes in, they're away from us for a period of time. But as an arm, as this committee is an arm of the state board, the State Board of Education, how can we? What's a proper way for us to, to show support or to help with the wording of this legislation? Or like, I just don't want to, I don't want to get in the middle of, alienating people over at the state legislature, but we do want to help.
No, I completely understand that. I think for starters, let me know where are you based out of? Are you over in Raleigh?
Yeah, I'm in Wake County personally.
Okay. Well, then I think we just need to set up a meeting with Senator Sawyer and McGinnis and Senator Britt, as they're the sponsors, and get kind of what their thought on all this is, because you don't always know why a bill is written. So talk with them, and then explain the data that Mr. Bryan was just telling us about, and then we just explain it to them and give them all the facts, and then we'll try to work with them inside this bill.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate your help.
So then, and you just email me some dates, maybe in the next 2 weeks, and we'll you and I will go over there and we'll set up a meeting with them, or we might do it virtually, depending on their schedule.
That sounds great.
Jamie, you got any sense of how quickly this one's moving?
The fact that, let me look one more time. The fact that I saw that it's just been read in, I don't think it's moving right that quick. Usually if something has to do with students, then we get notified by fiscal research and stuff. Hey, a bill's moving. You guys come over here and talk to at the committee, and we haven't been notified yet. So
Okay.
I still think there's time to address some of the concerns of what the senator's intent was, and also make sure we're doing what's best for the safety of our roads.
Great.
Mr. Chair, Carl here again. Just to reiterate what I previously stated, Mr. Falconberry here and Freebird McKinney, they comprise the government and community affairs division of our agency and the State Board of Education. Being that the Driver Ed Advisory Committee, they provide support and guidance to the Department of Public Instruction, we would be able to funnel our position directly to that office for their consideration, and appropriately that would put us in direct connection with the legislature as this new section or this new division, correct me, Jamie, by how I refer to you, or Office of Government Affairs, is that they would be able to, or they actually carry the message for both the agency and the State Board of Education in one voice.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working in unison on this, on everything we're doing. So,
Okay.
and we're dividing and conquering. So it's so Freebird will be able to do some other bills. I'll be doing some bills, and we'll come together when we need to. But yes,
Okay.
we are working together as one voice with the State Board and the department.
And Jamie, should Natalie be involved in that meeting, or at the very least provide some background information that would be useful in that discussion with the senators?
Yeah, I think it's great if we get Carl, you as the chairman, and then maybe one other person there, just somebody who's very up to date on all the facts and figures and the studies, just so that if there's any questions with the senators, we can address them appropriately. But I don't think we need the whole gang there.
Okay, so Jamie, just for your benefit, because I know you're new and you came in and you jumped right into the deep water immediately. This committee is the stakeholders are represented by, there's 12 different agencies that are stakeholders on this committee. There are actually 19 members.
Yeah.
On the call is Mark Ezel, who's with Governor's Highway Safety. Natalie O'Brien is with University of North Carolina Highway Research Center, and Mr. Tanner, who is the chair, is the he is the coordinator for Wake County Public Schools driver education. We also have, as notable, Kathy Short, who is the vice chair, and she is deputy director or deputy commissioner. I'm sorry, Kathy, if I butchered this, with the Department of Insurance.
Great. Yeah, no, I just these meetings, when you get way too many, if you get too many people in the room, then you sometimes don't get things done. So I like to streamline it, and I think everybody on this group is singing the same tune here. So as long as we get 2 or 3 people there to meet with the senators, I think this will be good.
Jamie, can I ask one more question? This is Devin Tanner. Again, with us being an arm of the state Board of Education, is it appropriate for the State Board of Education to take a position with the state legislature, or are there other entities that it would be more, I guess, appropriate to take an actual official position on this?
It's something I can talk. It's something I can talk to the chairman and of the state board, and obviously I run everything by Superintendent Truitt. That's going on since I technically work for DPI. Freebird technically works for the state board, but I think this is so fresh right now that it's still in the beginning stages, that I think we use you as the experts and we go over there and just talk to them and give the concerns that this group has, and then we work on it that way.
Okay, understood. Under in the bill, the language regarding driver education, really it says that we shall encourage compliance with this section, and let's see here, that will incorporate in driver education programs and driver licensing programs instructions designed to encourage compliance with this section. As far as we know, because we've already had this discussion, we don't have any problem with the language, but I don't necessarily know that how appropriate it is to take a position on the bill in its entirety.
No, Again, this bill is just filed, I think, February 9th. So, yeah, so let's just, I'll work on, you all email me, and then I'll work on scheduling an email with them, at least one of the primary sponsors. And we'll go that way. And then we'll just work with them and talk with them about the bill.
Okay, so
Devin, this is Mark. You wouldn't necessarily even need to take a position on the bill so much as just say, this is what the research shows happens
exactly.
in these situations.
Exactly.
And so you wouldn't be saying we're for or against Senate Bill 69 or whatever.
Yeah.
okay, and so Devin, just to follow up and just to reiterate again, for as far as a position statement or funding information, we have a direct line to Jamie Falkenberry, as he just stated, and then he will relay our information as needed, and he will use us as a resource for additional information if needed. So we really have a direct line there through that government and community affairs office, and with Jamie, since he is representing DPI, I have a direct line through him to him through the appropriate channels.
Thank you. Are there any other comments regarding Senate Bill 69? Any other points? Natalie, I see you on there. You have something you want to say?
No, I was just going to chime in too. Yeah, I don't think we don't have to take any position. I know at least as at UNC, we can just share the research.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Great.
All right.
Mr. Logan, do you have anything? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Carl.
I was going to thank Jamie because I think he might be in a car somewhere on the side of the road. So
I'm actually in my office, but I do I do have another appointment. Is there anything else I can answer, or any other concerns over the GA?
We sincerely thank you for dropping in with your busy schedule. I know that you and Freebird have a multitude of initiatives that you are working on, and I thank you for what you do. And I'm just, as I said before, with the new leadership, I am so excited about having you and Freebird working for us on behalf of all the students in North Carolina. So thank you.
I appreciate it, and thank you all for your service on this. I've served on boards and commissions before, and I know it's a lot of hours that you put into it, and not many people realize the work that goes into it. So thank you. And then Carl, if you could just loop me on with Ms. O'Brien and the chairman, and then we'll get the ball rolling on setting up a meeting with the senators.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay. We had Carl. We're still in our new business here, and if you look at the agenda, it's pretty much just those three bills. Are there any other comments or points of discussion on any of those three bills that need to be put forward to the committee? Mr. Logan, nothing?
No, other than, as I said, we're really glad to have the ability to, with the agency's new leadership changes, is that we are able to communicate with the government and community affairs office, and any information that comes relating to driver education, we're able to communicate that, and they can communicate on our behalf, or in certain instances, as he just stated, there are instances where the information is so detailed and so involved that they may call us in as support as they communicate directly with these legislators. They have a insight on how these committees and these bills are created, and that can provide some strategies that will help to get the proper wording in those bills where that doesn't impact us negatively, such as what may be some of the concerns with Senate Bill 69.
Wonderful.
So.
Okay. We had no old business. We actually put the new business forward first, but there is no old business other than is there any old business that needs to be brought forth before the committee at this time? Okay, Mr. Logan, any other new business?
No, I beg the forgiveness from the committee, being that Mr. Falconberry was coming from a meeting, and it was just kind of like a little bit unorganized, but I hope everybody was able to keep up as well as the people at home. We do especially appreciate the involvement of Governor's Highway Safety and the University Highway Research Center and other appropriate agencies whenever areas of concern in their particular area. So we're really, again, we're just really glad to have the support of you all. We realize that you have jobs of your own, and but this focus on traffic safety education is just paramount. As Angie put it earlier, that this impacts students, and that we have found that these are that being able to operate a motor vehicle or move around town is a essential life skill for young adults. We're right in the thick of things when it comes to Leandro. So we really we appreciate you all, and thank you for the opportunity to share with you this morning.
Okay, I also wear another hat. I'm the president of the North Carolina Driver Traffic Safety Education Association, and we have a meeting tomorrow, and so a lot of this information will be disseminated at that meeting as well. And then appropriate information will be sent out to our members statewide regarding any changes once those happen officially. So we know these bills are kind of in their infancy still, but as changes are made and changes to the driver ed program are made necessary, then we'll also get support from the state association as well. Before we adjourn, is there anything lastly that needs to come before, or any comments that need to come before the committee? I want to thank everybody, committee members, advisors, and staff for your preparation for these discussions. I remind committee members that our next monthly meeting will be held on May 18th, 2021. It will probably be virtual, and when I say probably, we still don't have any idea with regard to building openings, and so Mr. Logan and I decided that this will most likely be a virtual meeting. If something changes, we will give you plenty of opportunity and time, but we are counting on this meeting probably being virtual here in May. So unless there's any additional business at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And please state your name.
Mark Ezell.
Okay, Mark Ezell, so moved. And a second, please.
Doug Geller, seconds.
Okay, and are there any objections to the adjournment of this meeting at this point? Okay, this meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you very much. We will see everybody May 18th, 2021. Thank you for all your participation. Really appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.